And welcome inside Gateway Center Arena. College Park, Georgia was just here Sunday, and a much different result this time for the Indiana Fever as they came back and trailed most of the game. But all that mattered was that final 2 minutes, 32 seconds, where they went on a run, scored the final 7 points in this one, got a couple of big stops. And despite this Dream Team shooting 50%, despite this Dream Team scoring 56 points in the paint and leaning heavily on this sellout crowd of 3,800, no, it was the Indiana Fever coming away victorious. They took the series 2-1. It's their first playoff series win since the 2015 season where they reached the WNBA Finals, coached by Stephanie White. Natasha Howard was on that team. But every time you count this Fever team out, they deliver. And the thing I keep going back to is all those battle scars, those wounds, all those calluses have made them closer, have made them tighter, have made no moment too big for this Fever team because of all the things that they have been through this season. You count them out, they're even stronger. And, that proved to be the case again, not just this series where most probably picked the Dream to sweep. And you can understand that, given the fact no Caitlin Clark, 6 players in all on the bench, unable to contribute, including Damiris Dantas, who we did not see in this series. I figured she would play a key role off the bench, but she was in the concussion protocol after suffering that 1 week ago. And guess what? Next man up, starring in her role, was Brianna Turner. Much like we also saw Odyssey Sims. Early in the game, Fever struggling to get going. She scores 7 of their first 13 points. She came back in to close the game. Made a couple key free throws there late and helped lead the team in this one in many respects. And you can go on down the line, and each player contributed in so many different ways, including a player like Kelsey Mitchell, who led the series in scoring, was the leading scorer in every single night. She was a player on this night, delivered 24 points, 19 of them, I believe, in that first half alone, 11 points in the first quarter. And even when she wasn't scoring, she played a critical piece, both defensively and what she did and the gravity she carries herself with on that offensive end. You go back to a couple minutes left in this one, the Fever wanted to get it to her. They tried to get it to Mitchell. And Jordan Canada, who had a really good game tonight, she did 18 points, 10 assists for the Dream, was all over her, guarding her tightly. So she passed it up. Ultimately, they got a layup for Lexi Hall. And then after getting a stop, same kind of thing worked out. And so many times haven't we heard Stephanie White talk about this team needs to play through adversity, not turn it over, play fast, and then also once you get to the offensive end, not only just move it from side to side, but not be stuck in your ways and be able to get to the second, third, and fourth action. And I thought that's exactly what they did many times tonight, but especially in the final 2 minutes. And best illustrated probably by their last basket in this one, right? Boston scoring on Odyssey Sims, creating from the top of the arc, darted a pass to her on the right block, laid it up, and that was the go-ahead difference maker basket in this one. And then a team that, historically in recent years has not played great defense. It's been defense that helped win this series, especially on that last possession. First of all, Dream used consecutive timeouts. They had to use a second timeout to reset things, to talk things over and get organized. And here's where I think it was also telling. We haven't talked enough about this coaching staff, in my opinion, this season. Number one, you have so many former players, which has to be even more special, I think, for this run, for the way in which they've got it done, and for the history they continue to make given all those dark years. But it was Austin Kelly, the kind of offensive coordinator for this Indiana Fever team. He was in the huddle drawing up the play that he expected for the Dream to run. Look, they didn't have much time there in the final seconds. You're talking about not much time to work with. 7.4 seconds. They were down by 1, and the Fever scored. And then could the Dream answer? He drew up the play that he expected to see. Lexi Hall played it perfectly, jumped the pass, got the steal, passed it off, I think, to Aaliyah Boston, who got it to Odyssey Sims, who was then fouled. And that right there was the ball game as the Fever are victorious in this one. 87-85. They're moving on to the semifinal round. There's 13 teams in the league. And the group that has been hammered by injuries, that has been without Caitlin Clark, and all WNBA first team selection last year for all but 13 games. And now this Fever team just continues to surprise individuals. Surprise all of us, quite frankly. And it was notable just after the game, all the smiles. Kind of a sense of relief, but also the celebration and all their little quirks, all their little inside jokes as well. Starting with Caitlin Clark, right? Can't we? I noted pregame how she brought out the Black Air Forces for the second consecutive game, and that was something this team loved. Ari McDonald was in them as well. And postgame, we saw a video of Caitlin Clark taking it off and waving it around. I asked Lexi Hall about it postgame. She says, yeah, we're going to tell Caitlin to wear those the rest of these playoffs. And you even mentioned those players that are unable to participate in the game due to injuries. Yeah, all those players suffering injuries. Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, etc. They're still finding ways to contribute. You're watching Sydney Colson get in a huddle, or Sophie Cunningham shout out because she's got that booming voice and isn't afraid to talk, and she's the best communicator, in my opinion, on this team from everything I have seen. And she's talking out there. Caitlin, sharing so many different things, or pulling players aside, or getting into the officials, whatever it takes, whatever this team needs, they have contributed in so many different ways. And so, yeah, you cannot say enough, I think, about the path that this Fever team has taken to the semifinals, how they've blocked out the noise, both from all the different noise online, from fans, from visiting fans here today in Atlanta, blocked out the piped-in noise, perhaps. I mean, there was an incredible bass in the baseline where I was sitting. My goodness, it was very, very loud. Felt like a club entertainment atmosphere with all that. They did fill up the seats, 3,800 of them. Would have loved to see this series at State Farm Arena, by the way, but too many conflicts ultimately in this one. But when you think about this Fever team, we talked about Stephanie White so much. But it starts with her and her coaching staff. Is when she came in here, you had some talent, right? You only brought back 5 players from last year, so you knew you had to redo some things. You didn't need to start over. You had a lot of good pieces to start with. Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, right away. Then it's Lexi Hall and Damiris Dantas, and that's it. Everything else changed. And we saw them finish with 16 different players on this roster currently. 18 in total, counting Bonner and Kyra, who was also Kyra Lambert brought in briefly in all of this. But this is a situation here where the Fever are just going to continue to surprise people. And it was going to be remarkable, I thought, if Seattle did the same. They were right in it and leading with like 1 point with like 10 seconds left there against the Las Vegas Aces, the 2 seed. Obviously, the Minnesota Lynx, the 1 seed, and they had already advanced. But now, the Fever season keeps on rolling, and they'll head to Las Vegas coming up on Friday and get right to it, heading into Sunday's game against the Aces. We know that'll be a 3 Eastern tip-off, which means it's an early one out west, noon local time. And, of course, it'll air nationally on ABC. Look, the Fever are the biggest draw in the WNBA with or without Clark. Aces have to be up there as well, given Becky Hammond's status. They got Asia Wilson, who's been a multi-time MVP, and so many familiar faces, including an Indiana Miss Basketball and Jackie Young as well. But this is a game where, much like the season, the Fever had to overcome a lot to stay in this. They did take advantage of the free throw situation. I was very concerned about maybe how the officiating would impact it. Were fouls, and ultimately it impacted this Atlanta Dream team more. 3 of their top players had 2 fouls by the end of the first quarter, I believe. Something they had to deal with. I think it was Alicia Gray, Brianna Jones, and forgetting one other player in all this. It is a late night. I'm recording this well after 1 a.m. Eastern time. Oh, and Naz Hillman, who picked up the 2 fouls first when it comes down to it. And Dream got off to a good start to start the second quarter, 5-0 burst. And that led Stephanie White, who seemed to pull all the right notches in this game. She sent her starters back into the game where Atlanta had dominated inside the paint. That's where they scored 26 of their first 35 points. They got in a groove and had a lot of great success there. Neither coach was successful in their coaching's challenge. I thought it was interesting. They both used it on the same type of scenarios. Did the opposing team tip it, and should it be their ball? Both lost it, which I disagreed with those calls, but what have you. And ultimately, this Fever team was able to hang tight, and after giving up 27 points in that first quarter, they gave up 29 points the rest of the way, including just 12 points in that fourth quarter. It was just a tremendous overall effort, I think, by this Indiana Fever roster to get it done. And you could just feel and see the emotion pour out of this group after they had just a successful outing. They had back-to-back elimination games. They had back-to-back must-win games where if they don't win game 2, season's over. They don't win tonight, their season's over. And instead, they made it to the finish line and sprinted through it. And no moment was too much for this group that had been through a lot all season long. And so in what was the highest scoring game of the series, a series that not everything went your way, ultimately that doesn't much matter. You figured it out. And that's kind of been the storyline really of this Indiana Fever team, and it led to some emotional and truth-telling moments, I thought, revealing moments post-game at the press conference. That was with Natasha Howard, with Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell. I talked to Aaliyah Boston then, as well as Lexi Hall and Brianna Turner. So much material coming out of this one here down in Georgia. I assume the Fever will take Friday off, just have a unpack your bags, repack your bags. We're headed to Vegas type of moment, in addition to getting treatment, because this group has to be exhausted given the minutes that they're having to play. Fever had 3 players playing over 30-plus minutes, couple playing basically 35 minutes, and Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell. And especially in that first half, maybe first 3 quarters, the pace was incredible. Up and down the floor, both teams playing with great offensive efficiency. Excuse me. And what made for an entertaining game to be certain. And there was a couple reviews, a couple challenges that slowed things down. I think the reviews weren't really necessary, but the connectivity of this Fever team continues to shine through, and everyone's starting in their role, no matter who that is. There's got a couple big moments from Shea Petty, Aerial Powers with the energy, and a couple big steals and effort plays that she makes. That's something you can always count on for her. But ultimately, what did it come down to? It came down to not allowing the Dream to score basically in the final 3 minutes, to getting that last steal as Lexi Hall did, to knowing exactly what Austin Kelly had drawn up and expected from this Atlanta Dream team in that final sequence, and the Fever shine through. That was fantastic. Odyssey Sims, you can't say enough about her. And the other player I want to highlight is Bree Turner. There was so much negativity about her online for the first month and a half of the season. Why she's on the roster? Why is she wasting a roster spot? She's not contributing anything. Every player on down, even Steph White as well, talks about how critical she has been to this season, how much of a pro she is, how well she has handled everything. Again, we can't be in the locker room, so a lot of that we cannot see, and that's a whole different subject, something that I think the league and the players should agree on, because it's better for everyone, in my opinion. But nonetheless, Turner clearly had an impact well beyond something even us on a daily basis, who are there on a daily basis, truly understood. And she stayed ready. She stayed confident. They used her often in this series whenever Brittany Griner was on the floor. They used her even more in Game 3 with the various scenarios, and she was active there, swatting shots, diving on the floor, causing chaos defensively. She's known as a defensive player, and I thought she did a very nice job, and also making a key layup there late in the game that was critical to what was a 2-point Indiana Fever win. So a game the Fever had the lead for about 6 of the 40 minutes in this one. Ultimately, it was the final seconds that mattered most, and now they're moving on to the semifinals, believe it or not. Just a remarkable day, a remarkable game and series for this Indiana Fever team, who are now going to have at least, one more home game. We don't know for sure about 2, because they'd have to win at least one more game. It's a best-of-5 series for the second round, this semifinal round, whereas this first round was a 3-game series. You had to win 2. Now, one other thing I want to clear up, because it's new information I learned here before the game. Well, we don't expect Caitlin Clark back. I know a lot of people are wondering, and it's naturally going to come up in this next series, just given the Fever continue to advance. She's out there. She was even at shoot around, and I saw her shooting around. I'll post some videos of that as well later on as we progress. But today needed to be all about this Game 3 and if the team, the active players, had enough to get it done. But Caitlin is not active. Even if she is able or wanting to return or physically cleared to return, she cannot. We got that clarification today from team officials, and that's because going into the playoffs, they have to set an active roster. Caitlin's not on that roster. None of the injured players are, in fact. And they can't be, or else you couldn't have any of the hardship players that sign rest of season contracts to be eligible for the postseason, right? Ariel Powers, Shea Petty, Odyssey Sims as well. Those players that signed rest of season contracts. So Caitlin's not on that active roster. Even if she's 100% healthy tomorrow, she cannot play. Her season is over with, which we already knew, but I know this question has come up. A lot of eager fans were hoping to see her. You will not. She is literally not allowed to play the rest of the season. So wanted to add some clarity on that, since that was a conversation piece earlier Thursday going into Game 3. But a lot of post-game video I already posted on my YouTube channel with the post-game press conferences from both teams, pre-game press conferences with the head coaches, as well as conversations with Lexi Hull and Bree Turner after this Game 3 win for the Indiana Fever. So many hugs around. With the entire front office was here. Kelly Kroskoff, Amber Cox. You had members of the Pacer Sports and Entertainment family with Mel Raines, the CEO, with Joey Graziano, who has played a key role with so many things at Pacer Sports and Entertainment. Those two were here. Len Dunn also was here supporting the team as well, and that has to be special, seeing the growth that this team has made. And she was the coach when this team won the championship in 2012. I was there, I was around, and this team has a lot of similar vibes to that group. Katie Douglas got hurt. Jeanette Poland got hurt. Those were playoff injuries, in addition to other injuries that took part during that season, which they got off to a slow start. Doubt crept in. They had to go on the road in Connecticut and win. They had to go on the road in Minnesota and win. Long ways to go for this Fever team, but so many people had already expected it to be over to this point, but not this group. They've never doubted themselves, and a lot of proud, smiling faces after this one here inside Gateway Center Arena down in College Park, Georgia. We'll head back to Indianapolis, reset, and then it's off to Las Vegas for Game 1 of the semifinals. Fever at the Aces coming up Sunday afternoon, local time in Indianapolis, a 3 p.m. start on ABC. For FieldhouseFiles.com, I'm Scott Agness.